Urban waterfronts are at the front line of a changing risk context, exposed to repetitive and worsening tidal flooding, storms and storm surge, aging infrastructure, and other complex risks that threaten communities, ecosystems, and economies. These spaces are critical areas for recreation, tourism, transportation, and commerce, but now they must evolve to meet growing needs around resiliency and sustainability. In this episode of Current Briefs, we explore how cities and many other types of organizations around the country are tackling these challenges head-on.
Flooding is the nation's most frequent and costly natural disaster, yet many communities remain unaware of their vulnerabilities. FEMA-designated flood zones often fail to capture the full extent of flood risks, with over 40% of national flood insurance program claims coming from outside of these zones. This gap leaves homeowners, renters, businesses, and infrastructure exposed to devastating costs. For example, Hurricane Helene resulted in an estimated $80 billion in damages across multiple southeastern states due to storm surge along the Florida coast and inland riverine flooding across western North Carolina and eastern Tennessee, with much of it occurring outside of mapped floodplains.
To address this challenge, understanding current and future risks is essential. Arcadis is working with clients by using advanced risk modeling and data-driven approaches to identify and quantify hazards beyond traditional flood maps. By investing in digital tools that leverage real-time sensing capabilities, artificial intelligence, and industry-standard risk methodologies, such as Climate Risk Nexus and the Flood Risk Calculator, Arcadis helps communities align insights and make more informed decisions about their risk. These decisions advise land use regulations, infrastructure upgrades, and emergency preparedness plans, allowing stakeholders to implement resilience measures that safeguard lives, assets, and their local economy.
San Francisco's waterfront is a cornerstone of the city's identity and economy, drawing nearly 25 million visitors annually while serving as a hub for commerce and recreation. However, aging infrastructure and rising flood risks up to 5.5 feet of sea level rise by the year 2100 threatens its functionality by disrupting transportation, tourism, and local neighborhoods. This challenge presents an opportunity to balance flood protection, earthquake resilience, and public access while reimagining the waterfront as a sustainable, inclusive space for future generations.
The Port of San Francisco is spearheading critical efforts to protect and enhance its waterfront through the Waterfront Resilience Program. And Arcadis is honored to contribute its global expertise in resilience planning, stakeholder engagement, design, and engineering to this initiative. Arcadis is working alongside city leaders and community members to integrate innovative flood mitigation strategies into parks, open spaces, and resilient infrastructure along the waterfront. This proactive approach not only addresses current and future climate risks and the safety issues with aging infrastructure, but also creates opportunities to reimagine the waterfront as a more functional space. By embedding resilience into its design, this program ensures the waterfront remains a vital, vibrant community hub for residents and visitors capable of adapting to evolving environmental challenges, thus preserving its legacy for generations to come.
Lower Manhattan is one of the most vulnerable areas in New York City, with sea levels expected to rise as much as 21 inches by 2050. This dense urban environment is home to critical infrastructure, thousands of residents, and billions in economic assets, which are all at risk from flooding and storm surge. Hurricane Sandy really exposed these vulnerabilities, causing $19 billion in damages and leaving the city scrambling to recover. New York City is now taking decisive action through a comprehensive resilience strategy for Lower Manhattan. Through the Financial District and Seaport Climate Resilience Plan, Arcadis resilience specialists are working with city leaders to protect New York City from climate change. The plan will enhance the waterfront by building integrated coastal and tidal flood defense, accessible parks, resilient ferry terminals, and comprehensive stormwater management systems. These enhancements to the existing waterfront seek to protect critical assets while improving quality of life and safeguarding our economy and homes.
The Gulf Coast faces some of the nation's greatest climate risks, including hurricanes, storm surge, coastal erosion, flooding, and sea level rise. Vulnerable communities in critical industries like shipping and energy production are concentrated along the coastline. Hurricane Ian alone caused $112 billion in damage. The stakes could not be higher as the frequency of these hurricanes and coastal storms continues to rise. Governments like Plaquemines Parish in Louisiana are taking charge against these growing threats by creating strategies with Arcadis that use traditional gray infrastructure, such as levees, while integrating nature-based solutions such as coastal marsh restoration used at Spanish Pass. This collaboration of local, state, and federal governments to beneficially reuse dredged sediment from the Mississippi River directly addresses coastal erosion and land loss due to rising waters and increased storm events. Nature-based solutions like this not only reduce storm surge and coastal erosion, but also strategically improves ecological function and services, supporting biodiversity and economic sectors like fishing that rely on healthy ecosystems.
Boston's waterfront is a thriving cultural destination and a critical economic and transportation hub, connecting the city to regional and global trade routes and tourism. However, rising seas, increasing rainfall, and coastal flooding threaten to disrupt these connections, with projections showing up to 4 feet of sea level rise in the next 75 years. Maintaining critical ship-to-shore access while protecting our bustling historical waterfront from climate risks is a delicate balance.
Since 2015, Boston has been addressing these challenges with the Climate Ready Boston and succeeding neighborhood-specific initiatives, which incorporate adaptive infrastructure to prepare the city for future climate impacts. Arcadis has been proud to support the city from the beginning, helping lead climate adaptation from planning through implementation. Working closely with city staff, community members, and private organizations to design solutions that integrate flood defenses into existing and future port facilities, accessible waterfront parks, residential areas, and businesses along the shoreline. All these efforts continue to allow Boston to be a climate-resilient global connector and community.